What's up, guys? I remember as a child, I would like to go grocery shopping with my dad. And we would go to this particular store, and the only thing that this store sold was bread. And as a child, when my dad said that we were going to go to this particular store, I got excited because not only did they sell just bread, they had donuts and other freshly baked treats as well. And the one thing I remember is my dad would get so excited and begin to rack up on bread because they had sales going for 45 cents per loaf. I thought that that was normal until I went off to college and I had to start doing my own grocery shopping. And I got to the store and a loaf of bread was $1, and I thought that was robbery right there. So here reminiscing and talking about inflation, that really prompted me to start doing research on the average cost of a loaf of bread and what a loaf of bread would have cost 90 years ago up until today. And let's get started by you obliterating that like button. It gives me instant feedback and also it helps out the channel. And if you're new to the channel, hi, my name is Josh and I make videos on ways that you can save, make money, and all things related to your finances. So if you care about your money, go ahead and click that red subscribe button until it turns gray, and that way you don't miss anything. Inflation is a term that people use to describe how prices rise over time, and in this video I am going to cover the price and the rise of bread beginning from 1930. So after the stock market crash in 1929, the American economy plummeted. It just dropped. And there were food riots that would break out, and bread lines and soup kitchens served millions of meals. In the 1930s, the average cost for a loaf of bread was about 9 cents. During the 40s, it was time of conflict. You had bombs being dropped on Pearl Harbor, bombs being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You had World War II, the Holocaust. It was just so much conflict going on in the 40s. However, in 1940, the average cost of a loaf of bread was 10 cents. In the early 50s, the National School Lunch Act required schools to include a half to 2 pints of whole milk, and processed food became more popular. During this time, the average cost of a loaf of bread nationally was about 12 cents, and that was recorded in 1950. Julia Child's Mastering the Art of French Cooking came out in 1961, sparking a nationwide interest in French food and a retreat from the processed food that was thriving in the 50s. The national average for a loaf of bread in 1960 was 22 cents. With a recession in the mid-70s, due in part of rising grain and also oil prices, inflation surged and many of the food became so much more expensive. The cost of a loaf of bread in 1970 was about 25 cents. And in the 1980s, some bakers were rejecting quick-rise processed white bread in favor of whole grains. The average cost of a loaf of bread in 1980 was 50 cents, and that is double from the decade before. And in the 90s, Americans met the food pyramid. It was a federal recommendation of a healthy diet, which included a base of whole grains and 2 to 3 dairy products per day. Home cooks embraced making their own bread with the sale of bread machines increasing nearly 320% between 1993 and 1997. And if you were around in 1990, you would have been paying about 70 cents for a loaf of bread. And at the turn of the century, more Americans turned to low-carb diets, which focused on meats over carbs. And in the year 2000, the national average for a loaf of bread was $1.26. And in 2010, the average cost of a loaf of bread was $2.99. And the average cost for a loaf of bread today is $2.12. And we will continue to see the price of goods and services increase due to inflation. And first, inflation is not the prices of goods and services increasing, it's actually the value of the dollar decreasing. The more money that you have in circulation is actually the less value that every dollar will carry. And I explain more of that in the top video right over there. Subscribe by clicking the icon right here, and that way you don't miss another video. And I will see you in the next video.